Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Haven't you ever witnessed that some people they arrive just in time, but not just in time to bring solutions, but just in time to bring contention? Haven't you noticed this? I'm going to give an illustration now. You have two women, one is born again, is following Christ. The other, well, she's just in the world. The one in Christ knows the other since high school. They've been friends for a long time. But after a while, they kind of grew apart. Let's say that the believer's name is Catherine and the unbelieving one is Velma. I'm just using a name. Velma hasn't contacted Catherine for a while. Now, Catherine was going through financial difficulty. Finally, after a year, she's out of it. Then suddenly, out of the blue, she looks at her Facebook. It's Velma adding her. Then she thinks, oh, it's Velma. But then Catherine's husband tells her, hon, when did you last spoke to this Velma? Then Catherine said, well, about 4 years ago. Then her husband asked, okay, 4 years ago, that's before we even met. But how were you 4 years ago? Then Catherine was thinking, dear, why are you asking all these questions? The husband said, trust me. Well, how were you 5 years ago? We met 3 years ago. Now, 5 years ago was the last time you spoke to this fella. You've been on social media for almost 9 years now. And you're not that active on social media. You don't even post many things. This Velma, I've checked her profile. She posts a lot of stuff. She goes to parties. She goes traveling. Why didn't she seek contact with you all those years? You've known each other since high school. You used to be best friends with one another. What is this? Did Catherine kind of think, he's telling the truth somewhere. And then Catherine remembered, hold on a minute. 5 years earlier, she lost her job. She later became homeless for several weeks. A lot of her relatives turned against her. And suddenly, she realized during that time that Velma stopped talking to her. Velma didn't even respond on her text messages anymore. And then Catherine began to think, hold on a minute. Indeed, it's a bit weird. Then her husband told her, dear, don't you think it's a bit weird that now that we are out of financial difficulty, we're moving ahead, now this individual suddenly pops up? The husband told her, dear, you used to be best friends during high school, to understand. That was then. I'm not saying this Velma has anything against you. I'm not saying she's a witch. I'm not saying she's in any of that. It can mean that she's just a friend who wants to catch up with you again. That happens. I have it happen to me also. But we are believers. We follow Christ. And evil spirits will use anyone they can to harass us, to keep us in the negative. And this Velma, is she born again? Catherine said no. The husband asked, did she ever have any intentions of seeking Christ or seeking salvation or is she even interested in spiritual stuff? Then Catherine said, well, she knows about spirits that they exist. She has a grandmother that's into some kind of witchcraft religion, neo-pagan stuff, but she doesn't want any of that. She's like a feminist, secular type of woman. Then her husband told her, then we keep her at a distance. We just came out of a lot of trouble. We can't permit an individual that holds on to darkness to get access to us. So Catherine obeyed her husband. and she didn't respond to the Facebook request of this fellow. Now, this is not a lecture to teach you who to add or who to accept on Facebook, because I don't really bother with that. I use Facebook to post holiday pictures or share historical knowledge. That's what I use Facebook for. In the past, I used to be much more active on it, but even then, I didn't just throw everything on it like a lot of people do. But anyway, I'm not really concerned with social media. I just use this example in this parable to highlight something to you. Some people will only pop up when you come out of a crisis. Why do they pop up when you came out of a crisis? It's because you've now left a negative cloud. There was this dark cloud of negative energy around you, and unclean spirits were feeding off of negative energy. But once you overcome that, the unclean spirits wants to drag you again in a negative cloud. So they will use the people around you. Either it can be that someone someday feels hurt, and now they blame you for how hurt they are, and other people just agree with them. Or it can be that someone has relationship issues, so-called relationship issues, and that they want to talk about it. Of course, you are on friendly terms with them, so you are willing to listen to them. You're not going to be hard against people, but you notice that this individual always has relationship issues. Why? Because he or she, often these women talk about relationship issues, so I'm going to use she now. She never wants to evaluate her expectations of men, so she keeps encountering the same things over and over again because it's her that's the problem. But she never wants to acknowledge this. But she does expect her friends to support her emotionally. Now, it's reasonable that you expect people that are close to you to support you emotionally. However, in this case, she's going too far. She's holding on to stuff that she shouldn't hold on to, yet she expects others to feed that. So she's operating in denial, and she wants others to validate that denial. Now, you don't know this, okay? Let's say you don't know this about this individual. Just realize that she is in relationship issues over and over again. You may not have done an analysis upon this individual, but when you sense this, then understand that that individual is being used to keep you in the negative. Why? Because when you're not in darkness, unclean spirits cannot just take a hold of you. They can't. Even people out there, whether they have guns or knives, or it doesn't matter how much will and hatred they have, when you're not in the negative, they don't have direct access to you. That does not mean that they can't plot against you. That doesn't mean they can't act out against you. They can, but when you're not in darkness, they have no easy access to you. They don't. So, this is what warlocks and witches will do. They notice that you are in the positive, you're not in the negative anymore. That means that because you're not in the negative, people cannot ask you directly. So let's say that you had someone that wanted to knock you down. Because you're in the positive, they cannot approach you. So that individual that wants to knock you out or who has some kind of obsession against you, he or she, because a lot of women do this in the world, they go to some witch or some warlock to put some hex or some spell, some voodoo, hoodoo, or whatever you want to call it, upon you. Why? That is to drag you into the negative, because once you are in the negative, they have access to you. They can attack you. So this is how they do. After they've done their hacks, their hoodoo, voodoo, or they allowed someone to do it, they're going to approach you, and they're going to seek access to you. And once they have access, they're beginning to accuse you, saying that you're a bit rude. Let's say you have a conversation, something they say that's quite kind of rude of you. You don't say something like that. They become upset out of the blue. Now, of course, your natural reaction is, what did I say wrong? But you can never explain it. What's happening now? They are doing this to drag you into their unrest. They have unrest. And they're upset because you are not in unrest. So they want you in unrest to feel relieved. They want to transfer their unrest onto you, but you can't do it unless you are in the negative, unless you are on the same frequency as they are. So understand this, there are people out there that want you in their unrest. Okay? They can't stand that they are in unrest, they have all this weight with them, and you are operating free over there. They can't handle that because they don't want to evaluate themselves. So in order to hold on to their self-validation, they want you in the negative. And they'll go to wizards, witches, and all of those things to bring into the negative. Instead of seeking deliverance for themselves, they will do that. They'll rather self-destruct and drag people with them than to face themselves and give up that self-validation. Or maybe they don't go to wizards, witches, all that. Maybe they're just common people who don't know anything about the spiritual, but instinctively they know that they can only act you easily and act out against you once you're in the negative, just as they are. So they want you to hate them. They may come to your YouTube channel and leave all kinds of weird comments that don't make any sense. And you may think, why are they leaving these comments embarrassing themselves? They do know that people can see this. Sometimes they will put their own profile picture. Instead of a troll, they put their own picture, their own name, and they leave comments behind. They want you to know it's them. Why? Because they want you to hate them. They want you to think negative about them. Because it's only when you're in the negative that evil spirits can easily get hold of you. Look, when you're not in the negative, evil spirits can attack you. They can harass you. And that will have an effect, but you're not in the negative, so you overcome. But once you are in the negative, even if you're not aware of it, evil spirits can access you. And not only that, because I'm speaking about people who don't know anything about evil spirits, they know nothing about the supernatural or the paranormal. People that know nothing about the spiritual, instinctively they know once you're in negative meditation, it will harm your health. And when you're in the negative, they can harm you. They can attack you. They can accuse you. So even if they can't act out against you, they want you in the negative. They want some kind of unrest upon you because they want to face themselves. That's why you have people that don't like you, and they say to your face, they want you to know that they don't like you. Sorry, hold on a minute. They have their unrest. They have their will that doesn't add up, and they project it onto you. They should be ashamed of that. They should be embarrassed that they are projecting their unrest on other people. But they are so desperate to feel relieved that they want you in unrest. That's why they want you to know how they feel about you. They begin to make dirty faces on all of that. What's going on? They are desperate to relieve their negative energies. And they can't do it as long as you're in the positive. That's why I'm telling you, there are people who will pop up only once you have overcome. And look, I've spoken about malignant narcissists that want you in the negative. Okay? Those are the witches, warlocks that want to keep you in the negative. You have many of those around. Then you have people who don't know anything about the spiritual world, but they just want you in unrest because it makes them feel at ease. It's easier to fight you than to evaluate themselves. And then you have people who are neither wizards, nor warlocks, nor witches, nor sorcerers, and they're not involved in anything spiritual. Neither are they people who have any unrest motive towards you. Those are people who have nothing against you, who may even be supportive of you, but because they have wrong thinking patterns, evil spirits can use them to drag you into unrest. And it's that category of people that you need to be aware of. Wizards, witches, warlocks, those people, you will recognize them. And also people that will you in the unrest because they're so desperate it will manifest anyway. But the people who have no bad intentions towards you, but because they have wrong thinking patterns, evil spirits can use them to trap you in the negative, those are the people you need to look out for. Not because they mean you harm, but because evil spirits use them against you because they are in the negative. Because listen, any way of thinking that does not agree with Christ is negative. You have people who are malignant. They're desperate to keep people in unrest. Now, not all people who are not in agreement with Christ are malignant. There are benevolent people out there, but because their thinking is not in line with Christ, well, they're open for the enemy's use. For example, in the parable I just gave to you about Catherine and Velma, Velma had no ill intentions towards Catherine. Absolutely not. However, Velma was distracted by all the traveling, all the boyfriends she was sleeping with. She was distracted by the pleasures of this life. And this distraction caused her to forget about Catherine completely. And you know what? It was the Holy Spirit pushing her away from Catherine, because Velma carried all kinds of wrong thinking patterns with her. So now that Catherine and her husband are out of a financial stronghold, they were trapped by a demonic stronghold that kept them in financial trouble. Now they've overcome that. Now evil spirits are pushing Catherine to being they're pushing Velma to be in contact with Catherine, because they know that once they are in contact, sooner or later those wrong thinking patterns of Velma will manifest in the contact, and that will cause confusion. And demons know that then they can use this confusion to get a hold of Catherine. You see how this works? So people that pop up at the right time, but not at the right time in the sense that they aren't answering your prayer or anything like that. People that pop up, but you are a bit suspicious of why they just pop up. When people pop up just like that, and you feel suspicious of it, it can be that you're wrong. So be real honest towards yourself, evaluate yourself, and if you realize that there is no reason at all for your suspicion, then repent and be renewed in that area in your mind. But after you evaluate yourself and you check you are in agreement with Christ and you still sense this suspicion because someone popped up, that is because evil spirits are using them. There's an agenda behind them. I'm not saying they have an agenda against you. I'm not saying they're malignant against you. But it can be that there is an agenda behind them. Alright? And you know what? You're not going to act out against such people, because when you act out, then they're going to be confused, and an evil spirit is going to use that confusion to label you as a negative. So when you sense that something doesn't add up in an individual, don't act out against them, and no, just lower your contact, keep the contact at the minimum, and just don't get too involved with them. Because people that have an agenda behind them, it's the best for you to lose them. And there are times you will lose them. And you don't even know that there was an agenda behind them. Just realize this. There are people that will pop up in your life as a distraction to keep you in the negative. But they won't come as someone with a gun in his hand threatening you. Because if that would happen, you know immediately, okay, this is an attack. It can be that, okay, I'm going to use a male example now. You're a frat, and you're at a job. You have some colleagues, and there was this guy you used to know from college. You weren't really friends or anything, but suddenly you encounter him, and you find out that he works in the same industry as you, and he even has more experience than you. So you think, okay, I'm going to be in contact with this guy because he can help me with my job. And on the surface, nothing wrong with it. And that individual has nothing against you. He's willing to help you in the industry. But let's say you are in a manufacturing industry that manufactures cars, or you're in an industry that offers services to foreign clients. Doesn't really matter. You're in that same industry. He has more experience and is willing to help you, and you need help. So you think everything is fine. But hold on a minute. That individual over there has 500 evil spirits with him, and those 500 evil spirits have been assigned onto you to keep you trapped in the negative, to prevent you from growing and maturing in God's word. So that the guy popped up, but it was direct. It was pushed by evil spirits. That guy himself is not aware that he popped up in your life. He just decided one day to go to the city center to get some Starbucks coffee. Why? Because the demons knew that often you're there with your colleagues in that mall. So the demons pushed him to go to that mall. He's not aware of that. And the demons knew that once you see the guy, you would recognize him and he would recognize you. So this whole circumstance was a setup by demons to get you in contact with the guy, and now they're using that guy to distract you from growing in the word. So there's no fight, there is no argument, there's no hoodoo, nor any of those occult things being done towards you. There are no psychic attacks. There's some relief that comes along, but that relief has an agenda behind it. Now, just because someone pops up doesn't mean there's an agenda behind them, okay? It can be that people appear around you, and indeed they appear at the right time and they are a blessing unto you. That also happens, okay? So don't become cynical or fearful, think that everyone has some agenda behind them. No. But just evaluate stuff, okay? There are people that are going to appear, but there's an agenda behind them. And some people have their own agenda. Maybe their agenda is not against you, but their agenda will have side effects upon you. So evil spirits use them also. I'm just being plain here. Evaluate people that pop up just like that. Or people that so kind of vanish from you and suddenly they're there again. It can be that you are reconnected with them by the Holy Spirit, because they can help you to mature in the faith. So that people pop up, something like that, it can be a blessing also. But realize this, the enemy counterfeits. He counterfeits the miracles of the Most High. So just like God will cause people to appear in your life to bless you, Satan will cause people to appear in your life but to distract you and to keep you in the negative. In both cases, people appear just like that. But you need discernment to distinguish why they pop up. Maybe it was a prayer you were praying, but that prayer was not in agreement with Christ. But you kept holding on to that longing, to that outcome. And now because you hold on to that outcome you're longing for, evil spirits cause people to pop up to advance that outcome. And you think, oh, is my prayer being answered? Hold on a minute, it's a distraction. Look, I don't have all the answers for you. I really don't. I'm not going to pretend. That's why I'm telling you to agree with Christ. I'm not asking you to agree with me. You can dismiss this video. You can dismiss this whole YouTube channel if you want. You can even unsub. Hey, you're the one doing it. I'm just telling you, evaluate the people that pop up around you. Operate in spiritual discernment at all times. That being said, be at peace.